to empower people in need with economic opportunity and have their viewpoints heard. This paper uplifts and gives information to our most underrepresented people. It encourages responsibility and freedoms necessary to enhance our everyday life. The people we serve have a wealth of information to share with society. The paper contributes, informs, and connects diverse people from all walks of life. The challenge is to end poverty. I'm Valerie, the director-editor of the Challenger Street newspaper. We started in 2011 as a job opportunity for people on the streets and people in poverty. We are the voice of the homeless, with 95% of our writers being homeless or formerly homeless.
This is KOOP, Hornsby, HD1, HD3, and this is the Community Pilot Show, an open format program for KOOP programmers, volunteers, and listeners. For more information, you can contact me at undercovergreg@koop.org to find out how you too can get a slot on the Community Pilot Show. Today we feature homeless writers for the Challenger Street paper who will read their articles previously published in that paper. The Challenger Street paper is written and distributed by Austin's Homeless. The opinions stated are solely those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect those of the KOP staff, programmers, or volunteers. We will hear from 5 authors, beginning with Sketch, who gives us some idea of how the Challenger Street paper is distributed.
Following the rules. Hello again, folks. Man, what's up with the police at our state capitol? Tuesday, August the 1st, me, the little woman, and Bandit, our 4-legged son, were at our spot hawking the Challenger. It was about 8:30 a.m. I was on the northbound Lamar side, and suddenly I heard yelling, "Hey, get out of here! Get out of here!" I turned around to look, and there were 2 male bicycle police officers stopped on the north side curb of Riverside Drive. As I stood there for a couple of seconds looking at them and wondering if they were talking to me, they apparently quickly became upset that I didn't just run since they had yelled to get out of here. They began crossing the intersection on the Riverside Drive side and coming towards me. They rode right past a truck sitting in the intersection that was blocking the intersection and didn't even glance at him. They rode up to me like they were on a mission. "What are you doing?" they asked. "Well, I'm selling the Challenger paper," I replied. "Well, you can't be out there in the turning lane. You know there's a turning lane there." And I replied calmly that yes, I know there's a turning lane and that I never step off the curb selling the paper because it's against the rules. Then, like as if I hadn't said a thing, they stated that I could cause a serious accident going back and forth out there. "Again, I don't go off the curb because it's against our rules," I said. One officer, apparently disgruntled, got defensive and grumbled, "Yeah? Well, what kind of rules do you got?" So I began reciting the rules as they are printed on our rules of conduct sheet, and I finished with, "I've got the rules and the laws right over there in my backpack if you want to see them." Both started repeating, "No, that's all right, that's all right." It fell silent for a couple of seconds. "Well, why don't you all move up the street further?" one officer asked me. And I came back stating, "Well, that's Fred's spot." "Yeah, he's been there for 1,000 years, one of them said. And I interpreted this answer as 1, they knew Fred, and 2, they thought they had found a new face to flaunt some authority, when they actually found a person knowledgeable in police conducts and the law library. A few more subtleties were exchanged, and the patrolman said, "Well, you have a good day, sir." I ended with, "Yes, sir. You guys be careful." Why is it that the people that follow the rules seemingly get confronted by the police, and the ones that are only motivated to ask for something free get left alone to do as they please? We, the homeless sector, must become aware of the laws that pertain to what we all do on a daily basis. Stand up for the rights we all have. We are living harder than the normal citizen thinks or could bear. And as most of you understand, we need to be present here and respected by the normality as fellow citizens that too comprehend and expect mankind's rights to speech, living, laws, and justice. A small handful cannot open a door that's stuck with the history of prejudice, judgment, and racism. It takes a majority vote to make things happen here in Politics Town. Man, can't we all just get along?
And you just heard from Sketch as he read his article, Following the Rules. Next up is John, who reads his piece, Howling Mama Blues.
Howling Mama Blues. Usually I'd be alone for this. I didn't do much tonight now but stay at home, sit on my money, and wait to go back to Mexico. I was a substitute school teacher who lived at Mom's. I didn't pay no rent, and I was almost 40 years old. I still surfed and had my surf buddies. In the summer, I always went to Mexico, to a certain place. I sort of had something going on there. Here I just saved money to go there. I didn't much party here, even on Friday nights, which this was. Mom was back in her bedroom, getting primed. It was about 8 in the evening. I was checking the TV listings. Oh my God, I saw that great PBS documentary on the Civil War that Ken Burns sang was coming on in about 2 minutes. It was the first one of a whole series. Oh boy, said I, rubbing my hands together in glee. My favorite, coming on right now, and I'm going to catch it all right from the beginning. And then right then, as if to say, don't get your hopes too high, son. I hear a faint rustling in the back bedroom, and I'm thinking, no, not that. Please, Lord, not that. Not tonight, please. And then the doorbell rings. Well, I say, who could that be? I wasn't expecting anyone, although Buddy George was due next morning. We were going to go surfing. I answered it. It's old Buddy Dan. I sure hadn't expected him. Dan was part of the crowd, but me and him didn't really hang out. Dan wasn't all that great of a surfer, but, was a nice enough guy. We just didn't hang out. It was a little strange. Well, Dan, I say, what's up? Hiya, Bing. Everybody just called me Bing, after Bing Crosby, who I love. Listen, buddy, he says, I've had a little trouble. I can't really say nothing. So I was just close by and thought maybe I could come see you for a minute. I just sort of need to kind of cool out. For a minute, just for a minute. Well, sure, Dan, says I. Come on in. I was just getting ready to watch some more TV. So, I directed him over to the couch. Dan had never actually been in my house before. He always waited outside while the other guys picked me up for surfing. So, Dan, says I, once we were settled, you want a nice big glass of orange juice? It was all I had. I was all out of weed, damn it. But no matter, because suddenly with that, Dan just busts out crying. Damn. Slow at first, and then blubbering like a baby all over everything. Shazam, says I. What is it, Dan, old buddy? Man, he can't even talk at first, but then it comes out in a rush. My cat, he says. Old Thumper. They killed him. They killed old Thumper. And then he breaks down again. It was terrible, I tell you. It wasn't my damn show coming on. The one I really been wanting to see. Ain't there no justice? Finally, Dan calms down enough to add, it was a damn hit and run. In other words, a stupid cat got run over by a car. Jesus. Well, okay. Well, look, Dan, says I. I'm damn sorry. Actually, I kind of heard already about Dan and his cat. We kind of joked about it even. Like maybe, some people just get a little too attached to their pets, if you know what I mean. So I told him, dry your eyes, Dan. Come on, buddy. Buck up. Here, look, this is fabulous TV coming on right now. It's that Ken Burns documentary on the Civil War. It's just coming on, episode 1. Think about something else, Dan, for a minute. It'll help. I didn't know what else to say. I was bound and determined to see this show, damn it. And darn if I didn't start to hear more stirrings from back in that bedroom. To my surprise, though, Dan pulls himself together suddenly, looking now a little embarrassed, and says all surfer style, Dude, yeah, gnarly. Civil War, totally tubular. Okay, great, I think. Now we're back to faking it. I can at least watch the show. The opening credits are rolling, and then they zoom in. Man, and there it is, right there. Gettysburg. Hot damn. And then I heard the back bedroom door open. Just a slight creak. Silence. Oh, man. And then here she comes. My mom. Slowly shuffling down a short hallway, and I know she's primed. I look over at Dan. He's just watching the show now. He don't even know. Not yet. So she comes to the end of the hallway. I'm there on the couch. She's leaning up against the wall, kind of swaying a little bit. We're watching the show, but now I'm not even hearing it. I'm only hearing this thunderous silence, the most thunderous silence you'll ever know. Right before she says, in the ugly, drunken way, You're no good. You're just no good. and I'm going to have you on my back for the rest of my life, you bum. You damn bum. And right then I knew I wasn't seeing my show tonight. In fact, me and Dan were just about going to have to leave pronto. I'll explain to you later, Dan. But what I never could tell him was the real hard reasons for why we really had to go now.
You are listening to the Community Pilot Show with writers from the Challenger Street paper as they read articles they have published in that paper. We just heard from John, and we follow with Marcellus reading, This Time, Vanessa Takes the Fall.
This time, Vanessa takes the fall. I've learned over the years that when someone's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. Knowing what needs to be done does away with fear. Rosa Parks. Vanessa, you said you would sue me if I used your name without your permission. I almost fell for it. Sue me. You broke up my window twice, took my TV without asking twice, took my only coat in the middle of winter, absconded with my cell phones, destroyed my razors, threw out the trash bags, poured out any leftover laundry detergent, cleaned the place because I can be a pig sometimes, I admit. Told me I didn't scare you. You said you trusted me. Said I was your best friend and that you knew I would be there if you really needed me. I said I would never turn my back on you. I meant it then, I mean it now. District Attorney of Travis County and any other district attorney in the United States, you hold my best friend. You hold her knowingly, unlawfully, and unjustly. If you don't know it to be unlawful and unjust, you're supposed to. Based on the law that is a product of Miranda, you have my best friend. Based on the provisions of the oath used to give testimony within and beyond the courtroom door as administered by the court and acknowledged and understood fully by law enforcement, you unlawfully have custody of my best friend. The oath used to give testimony is given by the court and within the court. The law legitimizes all spoken and written law and is spoken before any testimony is given. You will not find it outside the courtroom. To physically exist within the courtroom, you must first physically exist beyond the courtroom door. This concept should be understood to the court and law enforcement. Nothing spoken or written has its origin within any courtroom. The courtroom is not the origin of the oath. This should be known to the court and law enforcement. I can only say what my best friend told me. Travis County District Attorney, you do not scare me. I want to testify for my best friend. You bully Colin Kaepernick, you're bullying my best friend. Bully me, please do. Let me testify. The oath used by the court and law enforcement to legitimize fictitious, spoken, and written testimony. My best friend and society will plead guilty in any courtroom in the United States when the words, I do, are spoken, well before any testimony is ever given within the courtroom. No possibility of a fair trial or due process exists in the United States criminal justice system. Colin tried to tell us this. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Do you understand these rights as they were given to you? Does law enforcement who gives this right fully understand? Does your attorney understand? Are you being sold out? These are the words of Miranda. It is acknowledged as a legal right by an entire criminal justice society. A declarative statement based solely on its own merit is considered legitimate. That is, it and its provisions are considered sufficient to arrive at justice in the courtroom. Deemed by the court, the oath used to give testimony the means to justice within the courtroom. Truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Together they allow admittance to the courtroom. They allow the physical possibility of justice outside and inside the courtroom. Truth, anything you say. Truth and Miranda are one and the same. One outside the courtroom, the other inside. Whole truth. Whole truth makes truth physically possible. It must physically exist. And determines how truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth are applied. Nothing but the truth, documented or understood as proven fact that whole truth can physically exist outside and inside the courtroom. Miranda is called truth. They are both spoken words. The words of Miranda must be physically possible according to the oath. If they are not, they are inadmissible according to the court, law enforcement, and the oath. To arrive at justice in the courtroom, light of justice must be made to figuratively come on according to the evidence presented by the court and law enforcement. Light of justice is made to come on by 3 switches. They are labeled truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If light of justice can be made to come on by way of all 3 switches being physically turned on and documented physically possible as dictated by the words and, then the arrival of justice is possible. If not, then it is physically impossible to arrive at justice by the presented evidence alone. It is inadmissible, according to the oath. Having all three switches does not mean that justice has been arrived at. It is only physically possible. They must all be made to come on. The switches are all turned off. Light of justice is not on. Miranda is admitted as evidence. Miranda is only one switch. Truth. In the eye of the court and law enforcement, only one switch out of three agreed is necessary. Figuratively, turn on the light of justice inside the courtroom. Whole truth and nothing but the truth are still turned off. Nevertheless, figuratively, the light of justice has physically turned on within the courtroom when it should not be. This is physically impossible according to the oath. Miranda and the provisions of Miranda alone are physically incapable of being used to arrive at justice inside and outside the courtroom according to the oath, the court, and law enforcement. Any person attempting to prove innocent in any courtroom in the United States will plead guilty when the words I do are spoken. You must never be fearful about anything you are doing when it is right. Rosa Parks.
You are listening to homeless writers for the Challenger Street paper who are reading articles published in the Challenger Street paper. That paper is written and distributed by Austin's Homeless. The opinions stated are solely those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect those of the KOOP staff, programmers, or volunteers. We will now hear from Peter and an anonymous author discussing the women's shelter movement and Safe Sleep.
This is a story written in 2012 about the establishment of Safe Sleep for women. This was in response to organizing by homeless people after the death of a homeless woman, Valerie Godoy. So as we unveil the opening of emergency shelter for women, it is important to remember that this crisis did not begin with Valerie Godoy's death. This crisis has long been on the lips of everyone who has been beaten in the street, who has slept in a parking garage on a cold night, or who has stayed in a poisonous relationship for shelter or safety. Over time, I've been having two distinct conversations about the need for women's shelter. With most house folks, the discussion has started with shock and surprise about the lack of emergency shelter for women in Austin, a city which has created an image for itself as progressive. With most homeless folks, especially homeless women, the lack has come up consistently, ever present, but almost old hat. It has come up in my conversations with homeless women since the very beginning of my voyage with the Challenger. I'm remembering a conversation while flyering for the Challenger last March at a meal provided by Food Not Bombs in the now closed Woldridge Park, not far from the dark corner of Duncan Park where Valerie Godoy was found murdered. At the height of organizing with the Ending Homelessness Working Group, I asked the question, whose movement is this, when we were advised by a longtime advocate to slow down? This question is still relevant today. Just as the crisis existed before Godoy's death, the movement of the homeless predates the recent shelter planning process. Recently, it has taken the form of Occupy, with 24/7ers making a home and a base for movement operations on the steps of our city hall, as well as a base for a few organizations, Occupy Austin, the Challenger, We the People, and the Ending Homelessness Working Group. The movement of the homeless also extends to the friends of Valerie Godoy who planned the candlelight vigil in her honor and continue to participate in the planning process for the shelter. These movements are repressed at every turn by elites, from the clearance of the City Hall encampment to the segregationist ordinances. We should also note the harassment of activists, arrests, notices to vacate street corners, and false charges against Challenger writers and distributors. We should note the arrest of Valerie's grieving friend by the Austin police after they circled the candlelight vigil like vultures on bikes. We need to remember all the history of the last 10 months and to recognize that we won this shelter. Our voices and actions were the crisis that provoked the establishment of a new shelter.
Safe Sleeper. I am a safe sleeper at the Salvation Army, and it is not clean enough to keep other women from getting lice, bed bugs, and other diseases. They never clean the mats with Pine Sol or bleach cleaner or pure bleach. They never put them in the washing machines and wash them and dry them, and they don't clean them at all. Some of the employees are real rude to us. The bottom line is they just don't care about us women. They fix us crappy food and eat up all our donations, and we never get any donations. Nothing but water, and it's always hot, never cold. The two supervisors never leave their offices when we are there. I am homeless, and I have been staying at the Salvation Army for the last 2 years off and on. 2015 was the first time that I stayed in Safe Sleep. I met a man who was camping out in the woods. I left the Salvation Army and went to camping with him. The reason why I left was they did nothing to help me get housing, like the Arch has been putting all of their homeless that really wants housing and places to live. I heard that they get funding like the Arch does to place people in housing. The Salvation Army has their favorite people that they like, but I am loud and I have a mental health problem. I get SSI and Social Security every month. My food stamps got cut to $15 because I was living at the Salvation Army. This year, they finally put me into the dorm and I was getting wrote up every day by other women. But I ended up leaving again because I got things stolen from me and the staff didn't do nothing about it. Plus, it is not a very clean place to live. The Salvation Army has big bottles of Pine Sol and big bottles of bleach, and we can't use it, but the staff never use it. Plus, they take all the good food to their houses and feed the residents slop. But the women and men who are in the workers' dorm get fed better and treated better than the single men and women. This to me is not right or fair treatment. Something needs to be done about these issues.
These are the voices of our writers reading their own work. I hope you enjoyed our sampler of voices from John, Sketch, Anonymous, Peter, and Marsalis. And I want to thank KOOP Radio and the Pilot Show for this opportunity to use our voices. The articles are online at challengernewspaper.org. Thanks for listening.
And you have been listening to homeless writers read their published work from the Challenger Street Paper, a publication written and distributed by Austin's Homeless.